What are your thoughts on Bitcoin and crypto? I don't know how much you've looked into it, but what's your general thoughts there?
I think we're in this moment with crypto and decentralized finance and dApps where it's about usability. We got this early adopter base, these developer base, these people who are really into code and finance to adopt crypto, and we had that massive spike, about a year and a half ago. But there's been this sort of trough of disillusionment since, and I think that's because it's really difficult for most mainstream people to use crypto, powered experiences or decentralized apps. They require complex browsers and these really long cryptographic keys that nobody can remember, stitching together all these different tools. And what we really need is something that's more like Facebook login, but for crypto. We need something that makes it really easy for me to bring all of my crypto assets, all of my my identity wherever I go, and instantly log into these experiences. There's companies like Bitski, which is trying to build this kind of login layer and usability layer for the crypto and decentralized app space. And I think there's other people who are trying to build stuff like this too. Coinbase is in that space of like login with Coinbase, that kind of idea. I think until that usability arrives, and until we can say, here's not only a use case for Twitter, but it's a easily usable use case, that's when you're going to finally get the mainstream adopting it. And I think we're going to see prices increase again.
Yeah, it's really interesting because if you actually think about what's the most user-friendly experience, it's like buying the crypto assets, right? So it's getting on a Coinbase, a Gemini, whatever, and actually just buying it. Once you get past that very simple action, it's incredibly difficult. And the example that I always use when talking to people is like, we're still sending to wallet addresses that look like random strings of letters and numbers. And until that gets solved, there's just an entire population of users that I think can't come into the space. So I think that you're generally spot on there. Do you see the large tech companies moving more and more into the space? Obviously, Facebook's got Libra and kind of what they're doing there. What do you see kind of from the big tech intersection here?
I feel like trying to do something really big and ambitious has been pretty well dissuaded by Libra's reaction. I can't imagine any company like Google or Amazon, especially anybody with any antitrust concerns, who's already having problems, who's trying to sort out which of their other bets to focus on, that they're going to dive into this space. It's become very clear that regulators are not going to allow tech giants to do something that has the level of power, the level of scope that would be necessary for it to be this insane win for their businesses. In a lot of cases, a lot of what Facebook wanted to do with Libra can be done with other type visions of its payment technology. It's like, yeah, people want to be able to do remittance easily. People want to be able to, buy and sell things without the same credit card transaction fees. I think those are really smart goals for crypto, but I don't think necessarily trying to replace the currency we currently use is the way to do that. If so, it's like, let Facebook do that on the back end. Let me pay real money. It does the crypto transfer in Libra on both sides and then spits out US dollars on the other side as well. Like that would be so much more comprehensible for the regulators to accept than what it's trying to do with Libra. And so I think it's not necessary for these big tech companies to launch things like that. I think they're much more interested in launching their own credit cards, their own financial services that play with the traditional financial system, because that's where the real money is being made, because there's not the same usability issues.
Yeah, is it almost that every one of these companies is going to have to go into fintech, right? Like they have the advertising, they've got like all the models they currently have, but it just feels like each one of, whether it's Google, it's Facebook, it's Apple, et cetera, they're all just slowly making progress into this space. And some of them are doing it direct, like obviously Apple with the Apple Card, et cetera, is like a direct shot into finance. But even some of the other companies trying to introduce like POSs and things like that, just are they all having to go to that space?
Yeah, I feel like the old trope was that every app eventually becomes a messaging app. And now it's like every app eventually becomes a finance app. It's just because that's where the money is being made. When you move a ton of money around, some of it inevitably falls off the truck and into your pocket. And I think that that's why, that's why the banking sector makes so much money. They're not creating a lot of value. They're just moving the money around and somehow a bunch of it ends up in their pockets. And so I think for that same reason, these tech companies are going to get into it more and more. You're already seeing interesting plays in this space. Things like Clearbank, which will take your Stripe and your Facebook ads accounts, analyze them and say, hey, you're worthy of a much better priced loan than you can get from a bank, because we know you're actually selling things, and every dollar we give you, you earn $3 back. And so they can give you these loans. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more businesses, more tech giants getting into that phase. Then things like Patreon are creating funds to sort of fund the initial content creation setup for creators. And I think you'll see that too. One of the latest Y Combinator companies is actually a loan system for influencers, where they can say, hey, look at all the money that I'm making on my sponsored content posts. Give me a loan so that I can buy a better camera, I can hire a photographer, then I'll make even more money off my following. And I wouldn't be surprised to see people like Twitch and YouTube start to get into that influencer financing space. And then, of course, you've got things like Robinhood that are trying to expand into all types of lending and services. But anybody who deals with small businesses, as we've seen with Square, there's an opportunity to get into that financing space. These tech giants have tons of cash on hand. They're not doing anything with it. It'd be better for them to invest it through one of these models and make a higher return than just sitting on it. So if you've got a ton of cash and you've got a ton of users, you may as well turn into a finance company.
Yeah,